I don't think she would.
I'll probably do it.
That water's fresh. Because maybe he just see as
I will.
I like knitting when I was younger, but I've never got how to start it. I don't know how to start. I don't know how to end. Oh well. I don't know. It's so I've never actually you could just tie it off at the end and then sew it together in whatever position you want. You know how to sew? Like not
You
with the
continue
string.
like this. If you continue like this,
Yeah. A big blanket, but like this, no one.
Could also be a that was so cool.
I don't know. You could turn it into a baby dress. No, I want to use it. Whenever I make it, I'll just use it. What you can? Wait, what? You have to make it like really long. Use it. Seriously? Probably, yeah. Huh? What happened?
Nothing.
Oh, yeah.
I like sat too far.
I'm up for it if you
But it's like, you know, the last class today.
So like random that we have time right now.
Yeah, that's very true.
It's not typical
Chapter.
I want to, like, I need to get stuff to do. And then it's like, I need to work on, like, what we're doing.
Singular.
But
Why not specific? No, it's like,
But I can tell you have. But I can ask more.
oh, hello.
Oh, you didn't even know. What are you teaching today?
Yeah.
So it has to be like one day.
We get blue ribbons.
Yes.
I'm so tired today. And it's so tired. It makes me laugh. Oh my gosh, I want to go check it out more.
like they're so busy.
You know,
I mean, like right now, I mean, till 7, but it's like 6:50, so I can get to dinner at 7. That starts the evening like at 4.
No,
So I have 1 hour. So you can now. If you want to play.
Plus, like,
I slept like before 11 or something. But it's good because everything is like 12. But today it's like
we drove it.
just yeah.
So long.
Like I learned yeah. Yeah, I can. Yeah, also Monica always sleeps very early, so. But now,
Yeah.
yeah, I can leave. Yeah, both like with Monica, you know, to drive it hard. When do you sleep?
And I'm
Very late.
No, I can
I'm
slightly
the
away.
train apart, fell apart, and there's like a tree.
Sometimes we can go
Thing
more
and
time.
one came to help, but like those programs are.
Hello. So we're on page 15 in the booklet, and we're going through highlighting just different scenarios that are related to the Avera of not stealing. We mentioned yesterday, one is called Geneva, one is called Gazela, And then the last thing we do is number 5, which means do not cheat, which means that in business, buying and selling is not outright going into someone else's pocket and stealing their money. If I'm not dealing honestly, that's considered cheating. And many stories of people who went out of their way to make sure that whatever money they took from someone, whatever the money they paid to someone was honest. So for example, if someone was supposed to give you $1, I'm just using this as an example. They didn't realize instead of giving you $1, they gave you a $10 bill. And you say, okay, they didn't realize, that's my problem. That's also considered cheating. Or someone gave you money and you were supposed to give them back change, $20 change. Instead, you gave them back $10 change, and you realize later, should you go out of your way to find them? Yes, because the other $10, like stealing. So it's the same idea, just in a different format. So anytime I'm holding other person's money without their permission, and that is considered, it's a form of stealing. You know, here in America, we had a president, wasn't Jewish, but a very famous president, named was Abraham Lincoln. And the story they tell about him was, before he became a president, I think he owned a store, and that's what happened. He gave someone change. It was the wrong change. He was missing a few pennies, and he walked a few miles to find the person and to give him the few pennies. He was what we call a righteous Gentile. He didn't follow Torah, but he followed the 7 mitzvahs of being honest, and that applies to Jews and non-Jews alike. So that's number 5. Number 6, we touched on it yesterday. It's also in the Chumash, there's a verse that says, Lo Sasha. What does that mean? It's also holding other people's money, but in a different setting. Normally, when you talk about stealing, it's that you go aggressively into someone else's possession, into their home, and you take something out. Put your hand in their pocket and you take something out. But this is another example where what you have, you got it with permission. For example, the person gave you a loan, gave you money, or a person gave you an object to use, and you're supposed to give it back to them at the end of the day, and you decide, I want to keep it myself. So it's different because I got it in a permissible way. So some people's minds, well, you gave it to me, so I got it in a permissible way, everything is fine, but it's not true. You have to return it. If you don't return it, it's committing a sin. By the way, it's interesting to note, and I think I mentioned the other day, normally when you do something wrong, you do tshuva. You say to Hashem, please forgive me, I'm sorry. But in these kind of situations, saying I'm sorry to Hashem is not enough. Because as long as I'm holding on to the money, in a sense, every day that I don't return it, I'm stealing. I'm continuing the act of stealing. So if a person says I'm sorry, but doesn't return what he stole, then his I'm sorry is not really true. It's worthless. Number 7 is another example about returning a lost object. What's the halacha? If you walk down the street and you see something on the floor that somebody lost, you see a wallet, you see money, could you keep it or do you have to return it? Here's another place where we see the striking difference between Torah and other cultures, like our American culture, even though it's a culture that's honest and straight, but in America they say finders, keepers, losers, weepers. It means whoever finds something, they keep it. Whoever lost it, they can cry, which means if I found it, it's mine. Not in the Torah. In the Torah, if you find something that belongs to another person, for example, it says on it, this belongs to so-and-so, you're not allowed to keep it. Keeping it would be also stealing. You have to return it to the owner. Yeah.
So like some instances, like how would it apply when like there's not like a clear like return to owner thing? Like
Even if it doesn't say return to owner, but if it says the name of the owner on it.
Doesn't like give a way to like find the owner. on it.
Okay. And I want to just say that there's a whole tractate, an entire tractate over 100 pages with all the laws pertaining to lost objects. It's called Baba Metzia. And it's a good question. So if I find an object and there's no name in it, do I have to return it? So the halacha is that there might not be a name, but if there's a siman means there's some sort of an indication where the person could identify that it's theirs. Now, I just must say that there's a big difference between us living in a place like New York or big cities, or when you're living in a smaller, let's say, village or a smaller community.
Or even if you're in like a school building versus.
Well, in a building, it's also very different. And it's limited. Whoever lost it is someone from this area. So let's say I find a siddur like this. I find a siddur. There's no name in it. But if the person lost the siddur, and I say, I found a siddur, whoever lost it can come and tell me what you lost. And they come back and they say, it was a small siddur, it was this edition, it's blue, I have to return it to them. So in other words, if there's a way of indicating, if somebody loses money, dollars, coins, there's no way of identifying dollars and coins, unless you find it in a way that you can tell the person put it there intentionally. Or let's say it was wrapped in a red rubber band, and they come back and say, I lost $132 on a red rubber band, and you count it, it's $132, and it's in a red rubber band, then it's theirs, and you have to return it.
Is there like an amount of time that something has to be like unattended? Because like sometimes people like aren't responsible but still don't want to like have their things be like.
Right. So again, all this has a lot to do with where it is, what the circumstances are. So for example, in the times of the Beis Hamikdash, being that all Jews would go to the Beis Hamikdash, so if someone found something, there would be like a lost and found place, that if you lost it, go to this area and you identify the object. And I think in that case, there is a time limit, like you have to do it 3 times, 3 of the festivals when all the people come. And if nobody claims it, then you can keep it. So there are, but I don't know all the laws, but there are definitely laws depending where it is, what the circumstances are, how obvious it is. Maybe the person never had a chance to come and claim it, so you have to give him more time. But there are a lot of halachas of when you do have to return and when you don't have to return.
Are you obligated to like take something if like it?
If you go down the street and you see something and it has a name or any other way, again, I don't know if it applies to New York City because it's a big city. But if it's a limited area where you can tell more or less that it belongs to people from this area, somebody that you can really access, you're not allowed to pretend that you didn't see it. You have to pick it up and you have to return it to its owner.
How can you tell it's like it wasn't like placed there like intentionally?
You have to look at how it's lying there. I'll give you an example. In the Gemara, it says, if you find coins have no indication on it. But if you find coins piled up in a certain order, somebody put it there. They don't fall that way. So there are certain ways of recognizing when something fell, or something was put there intentionally, and was put away in a corner, and you happen to discover it, but the person planned to come back and take it for whatever reason. So that's why I said there's a whole tractate with a lot of details. Yeah.
And with like it might be a case where it's better like to leave it, like maybe they'll come back for it.
Sometimes it might be a situation, again, it's true because that's what happens sometimes. Someone puts something down, you want to be nice and take it away. They don't know who you are, you don't know who they are. And because you took it, they actually lost it. Yeah. So I think all these things, you have to take all the circumstances, where it is, where it was put away, what does it look like? Is it a protected place? And put all that together and make a judgment. Yes.
That actually happened to me with my phone. In the summer,
yeah,
I was by like a festival type thing, Jewish festival. I'm connected with my sister and my niece and stuff.
Right.
And I was getting food, and I put down my phone because I was like putting mustard or whatever on my food. And then I was going to wash, and I came back, and my phone had disappeared. I'm like, did anyone see it? Did anyone see it? And she's like, maybe check by like the lost and found. I was like. It just got to here for like literally 2 seconds. I come back like just to wash and come back, and it's like gone. I was like, where did it go? Like, And because someone moved it to the lost and found, I couldn't find it for it, and end up.
Right, the
you know,
person probably
it's
thought they're gonna do you a
15
favor and take it and give it to you, but had they
took
left it,
10,
then you would have
15
found it.
minutes to find it because it was in the lost and found.
Sophia, you want to pass this around? I just want to show you that.
What?
So again, you have to take it all in consideration. I'm just showing you this article. It's an interesting article in the newspaper, and I saw it. I was in shock. It's a person that left a musical instrument, a cellist, musical instrument, which is called a cello, I think. Cello. Every year I make the same mistake. Okay, cello. They left a cello in the back seat of a taxi, and the driver found it, and then he said he wants to get paid a certain percentage of how much it's worth. Being it's worth $4 million, he wanted $40,000. In the Torah, you're not allowed to take 1 penny for returning. You're obligated to return it. It belongs to someone else. In this case, he knew who it was. He knew where he lived. He knew everything about him. You have to return it. So basically, this is another form of stealing, except providing what the circumstances are, because there are times where you find things and you could keep it and it's yours without a problem. But for that, one might have to ask Rav a question. And by the way, this reminds me, on top of the page, it said, other people's money should be precious to you like your own. There's a story in Gemara. I was going to look it up before I gave the class, but I couldn't find the reference to it. But I remember reading this a long time ago. So I don't know if I have all the details straight, but this is the gist of it. That someone was traveling and he had chickens and they were wrapped in a red kerchief. He sat down on a rock somewhere in someone's field and he was very tired. He fell asleep. When he got up, he forgot that he had the chickens there and he walked off and goodbye. So it would happen to be the field of one of the sages. I think it was Reb Chanina ben Dos, I'm not sure who it was, one of the sages. And a son or a grandson found it, came to his grandfather and he said, well, being that there's a red kerchief around it, the person could come back and say, I have a sign, I have a siman, how I can point out that it's mine. So we have to keep it. The person came back a year later, he was traveling the same route. And he said, I was here a year ago and I lost chickens and they were wrapped in a red kerchief. Could it be possible that you found it and you still have it? So he said, yeah, let me give it to you. And he walks into a pen full of goats and says, all these goats are yours. He says, goats? I lost a chicken. So he said, well, it says other people's money should be precious to you as your own. So basically the chicken laid eggs and they fed the chicken. They took care of the chicken. They sold the eggs. They made money. They bought goats. And basically from this chicken, he had a whole lot of profit that came out of it. And he gave the profit. Are you obligated to do that? I don't think so. But this is, he said, this is what I would have done with my own. So I did it for you. There is, by the way, a question. What happens if you find an animal? And an animal, you can't just put that on a shelf. You have to feed it. You have to take care of it. So I'm obligated to do all that if it's not mine, but I know it belongs to somebody. Under certain circumstances, the answer is yes. So again, I know I'm not giving you the actual halacha, but if you find an animal and you think that it belongs to someone and there's a way of identifying it, you'll notice if you go ever online, like on COL, some of the local websites, you'll see there's a lost and found. They actually post. I found this in 770. I found this on Kingston Avenue. Did anybody lose it? They don't give the details, but if you lost something, you give the details and you could claim it. Yeah.
So actually in like New York City, I was walking with friends and like one of my friends noticed there was a wallet. And like in my mind, it's New York City, a wallet, like it's impossible to find like the person.
The owner.
I didn't see the wallet. They saw the wallet. So she picked it up and she was like looking through it and seeing like
A name.
where's the name and stuff like that. There was like one card that only gave like a first and last name. That was it. And there was like no other information. But basically she spent like an hour. She went on like different websites that you couldn't find a person by
That's
their
very
name.
nice.
And she spent like an hour looking for this person and found the person's address. and ended up like going and returning it. I
Really?
was
And she
like,
found the
Yeah,
person?
she found the
That's
person
pretty
just
good.
from like the first
Okay,
meet.
so
It
she
was
did it the
first
right
one
way.
I
Normally you would think, listen, if you lose it in Crown Heights, because there's a local website, so you know more or less where to go. But if you just find something in New York City, it's a few million
see.
people
There's
live
like
there,
millions of
anywhere,
names,
right?
like,
I guess she really wanted to do the mitzvah, so Hashem helped her out.
yeah.
But it is a mitzvah, it's a commandment. If you find a lost object, it's a commandment to return it. Yeah.
It's just a funny like shliach, like losing wallet story. There's this boy from my town, and he was in Israel on gap year, and he lost his wallet, and some like random Israeli found it, and he picks it up, and he sees like a small town in Pennsylvania. He has no idea, and he goes in Chabad.org and looks up the shliach in that area. And my rabbi gets a call. Do you know Nadav Greiber? And he's like, yeah, for sure. And then he calls Nadav and said, you lost your wallet. So his random boy lost his wallet. Some Israeli found it, calls his shliach, and then shliach. It was just like funny that like
And then the random Israeli becomes a Bakshuva.
it's like a crazy story. Like literally, like you lose a wallet in Israel, call the Chabad rabbi in small town.
Yeah, you're
It's funny.
Oh, nice. Number 8. Actually, the parsha we're going to be learning next week is called Mishpatim. Mishpatim means judgment. The bulk of the halachas that relate to money issues, or everything that I've told you now about issues pertaining to deals between partners in business, buying and selling and cheating and stealing, a lot of those halachas come from next week's portion. And part of it is this, number 8, being a custodian. Being a custodian means if someone says to you, I want to leave my computer in your house, could you watch it for me for the next 2 weeks? And you say, sure, why not? To what extent are you responsible? If it gets broken or it gets stolen or something happens to it, are you responsible or not? So in the Torah, there's a whole section, when part of it is in next week's Parsha, about different kinds of custodians. Did the person pay you money? Did you do it for free? What were the circumstances? In some circumstances, you're responsible for this, but not responsible for that. In some circumstances for that, not for this. Yes?
Is invading privacy a form of stealing?
Invading privacy is, I think it is something in the Torah in itself, where it says you're not allowed to, let's say, eavesdrop, you're not allowed to, I guess, look into someone else's private domain. But I don't know, it's the idea, but I don't think it's called stealing. I don't think it falls under the category of stealing. But there is something in Torah about that. Yes?
Oh, also under the category of stealing, doesn't say like to wake up your parents is like stealing?
Their sleep.
You're thinking of stealing someone's sleep,
Yeah.
and that doesn't only apply to parents, that applies to everybody.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I heard it specifically about parents.
With parents is because we're supposed to honor parents. Well, there's a story in Gemara which shows what it really means to honor parents, and tells a story that in the Beis Hamikdash, one of the commandments was to bring a red heifer. That was a process that was used to purify if a person became impure under certain circumstances. A red heifer means an animal that's totally red. If even 2 hairs are black, is disqualified. It's not easy to find such an animal. So they had to go to different farmers and search for it. And when they found it, they usually paid a lot of money because it's a rare thing. So the Gemara tells a story that they were Chachamim, the sages, came, and they came to a certain farmer, and they said to him, I heard that you have a red heifer, could we buy it from you? And he said, he wasn't Jewish, he said that my father is sleeping, and the keys to the barn or to wherever the animal was are under his pillow, and I can't wake him up. They were really ready to offer a lot of money. I'm sorry, I'm not going to wake up my father who's sleeping. Again, a righteous Gentile. But in the Gemara brings the story to show us to what extent the person should have honor to parents. But this is not because I'm stealing their sleep, it's just I'm disturbing someone's sleep. Now, there is a concept where people call it stealing sleep, that you sort of can't make it up. You want to go to sleep and someone disturbs your sleep. You can't say, okay, tonight you'll sleep again. Tonight I sleep for tonight. Now I want to sleep for today. I missed out on it. But I don't think that again, they use the language, they borrow the word stealing, but it's not really stealing. Stealing is really money, possession, has financial value. And then there are laws that pertain specifically when you lend something to a person or someone hires, you rent a car from someone. Again, there's halacha. By the way, I mentioned yesterday, and I'll say it again, a lot of the laws that pertain to business, to money, financial, are a lot of times depend on the law of the land, which means if you live in a certain country, being that this is the law in this country, even though it's not Torah, but Torah says that with financial issues, you follow in a lot of things the law of the country, because that's when people go into business, they take it for granted that that's how we're doing business. Yep.
I just have a quick question about being a custodian. So like, what I get, so one time I was watching my friend's fish, and it died while I was watching it. So like, what are you supposed to do in that situation? Like, give them a new
Resurrection.
fish?
Resurrection of that.
So that's one of the examples where it says in the Torah that if the animal dies, you're exempt because it's out of your control. But if the animal dies because I was negligent, let's say I kept it in the sun and the heat was too much for it, I did something which I wasn't supposed to do, that I might be, if it was negligence, that I might be responsible. Or let's say it was stolen, and the reason why it was stolen was because I didn't close the door, I left it in an open place. Again, it's not my fault that someone stole it, but if it is my fault, I would be responsible. So there's a certain degree of responsibility if I'm doing it without pay, and there's more responsibility if you actually got paid for it. Number 10 is related to this, but not exactly stealing. But this is one of the 10 commandments, and that is lo sachmoid, do not covet. I think a lot of people are not familiar with what this means. Anyone know what it means practically? Do not covet.
What someone else has.
That someone else has. So someone else has something nice. I'm not let her feel, oh, that's such a nice thing. I wish I would have it.
Like jealousy.
What?
It's like jealousy.
It is jealousy, right? So the halacha is like this. If I'm not mistaken, this is the halacha, which many people don't know. If someone says to you that they have this coat and I think it'll fit you, you want to buy it from me? Perfectly okay. But what if you see a coat that someone else has? So if you say, where did you get this coat? I love this coat. And I'll go to the same store and get another coat like that. Also fine. But what if I say, I want your coat? That's called coveting. I want what you're wearing. In fact, I'll pay you for it. And the person would agree. You're not doing it against their will. They'll agree. But being that you want whatever the other person is wearing, the Torah says that that's prohibited. And I guess, like you say, it's jealousy. And by doing this, I'm sort of feeding into this nature of jealousy. And what usually happens is people have a nature. By the way, with children, you see this very clearly. Children, you know what they always want? Right, what the other kid has. If they don't have it, they don't want it, they're not interested. If someone else has it, they want it. And they just walk over and take it. What'd you do that for? It's mine. No, it's mine. You get a big fight. But the nature adults also have, there's a certain, it's probably a jealousy that I want what you have, especially if it's a nice thing. So I'm going to try to get it from you. And in that case, generally speaking, it's considered lo sachmod, it's a prohibition, because by doing that, I'm cultivating the nature of jealousy. And jealousy could lead to stealing, and jealousy could lead to murder. Because very often you want something, you can't get it, you go and steal it. You try to steal it and you can't get it, you might end up murdering somebody because of that. So jealousy is actually, we learned this before, is a very negative character trait, and it could lead to negative outcome. And therefore the Torah tells us to be extremely careful not to allow to cultivate such a nature within ourselves. Yeah.
Doesn't it say like specifically like someone else's spouse or no? Is that
Yes, it's also in the 10 Commandments. Don't covet someone else's spouse, don't covet someone else's possession, someone else's field, and so on.
When you said like kill, it just reminds me of all these like TV shows of like.
Well, that's what happens.
Yeah.
They see someone else and they want this relationship, and they can't because she's married or he's married to someone else. And the next thing you know, they eliminate him. So, unfortunately. But that's the nature of jealousy, is something very, very powerful, very dangerous. One of the principles we find a lot in Pirkei Avos and in Torah in general is that if you allow a little thing to fester, eventually it becomes a big thing. And have you ever heard this expression that a stitch in time saves nine? You're stitching now, you know what it means? It means if something gets ripped and it needs one stitch to fix it, if you do it on time, all you need is one stitch. If you let it be, you'll need 9 stitches to fix it.
Right.
And of course, we know this with health. If a person has a cold and you neglect to take care of it, sometimes a cold can turn into something very serious. A simple cold.
I have that right here.
What? Oh, there it is.
That
That's it.
was-
Okay.
I clipped it so it was like.
That's why I came up with it. Yeah. You know, today we're very careful to say strep throat. It's a cold, no big deal. But if a person has strep throat and you neglect it, sometimes it leads to even heart problems. Just a strep throat, and that's why you don't let that just disappear. You take care of it. So certainly spiritually, if I have a negative character trait, it's not so severe. A little jealousy, but if it's something small and I don't sort of nip it in the bud, then eventually it gets bigger and bigger and becomes more destructive as time goes on. Now, a lot of halachas, I didn't even bring it here, but a lot of halachas, monetary issues, where also stealing could come into play, is with partnership. People that have business as partners, it's very important that if you're looking for a partner in business, they should be honest, because that's the one place where people could be stealing from each other without, the other person not realizing it. I don't suggest it. I know there's a businessman that said, I forgot who it was, that the only ship that doesn't sail is partnership. Usually ends up in fights and arguments and stealing. But there are halachas in Torah. There's a whole section in Torah about laws that pertain to partnership, laws that pertain to buying and selling, and they're all laws that really touch on the issue of me not taking someone else's money in a dishonest way. Okay, there's one more thing in the Mishnah, two more things that we still need to go into. I'll just touch on the general idea, and then later we'll, tomorrow, let's say Wednesday, tomorrow we'll continue. At the end of the Mishnah, it says, the words of the Mishnah are, let me look it up. Oh, I have it here. The words of the Mishnah are, it's Mishnah 12. And it says, prepare yourself for Torah study, which means you have to make an effort because the Torah is not an inheritance. One of the first things a child learns is, and in fact, it's like a song that all children sing when they go to a Torah school, even before they go to school. When they're still very young, they're taught to sing Torah Tziva Lanu Moshe, Marasha Kilas Yaakov. This is a verse in the Torah, and it says Moshe has commanded us to the Torah, and the Torah is an inheritance. It's an inheritance that Hashem gave us to the nation of Israel, to the nation of Yaakov. So why does it say here, no, you have to prepare yourself for Torah because it's not an inheritance? That's the question. What's the answer? The answer we'll have tomorrow in class. You have food for thought, and hopefully you'll be able to fall asleep. And I worry about it tomorrow. We'll hopefully straighten it out.
Thank you.
Okay, all the best. Yes.
Can I have a meeting with you tomorrow?
Tomorrow, yeah. The meeting now with someone, another meeting after that. I think my
No, but it's really good. Like, keep working hard,
we have to renew our meetings. We used to have meetings.
I know, and then.
Got a break.
Yeah.
Back on track. Tomorrow is the 20th. 9:15, 1 o'clock. When would you want to meet?
Anytime.
Is it 1:45? Okay?
1:45?
That's not
Yeah, yeah,
close, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm not excited about it. That's why
Okay, here's a shot.
So that's true. That's exciting. I think I do too.
Reba, you wanna work on this later?
Wait, are
Oh,
you
Rabbi
bringing back-
Majeski, can I bring you cash tomorrow for this one?
Wait, are you bringing your backpack home?
I am. Yeah, you're not bringing your.
Thank you. No, I had a meeting. And that was worth $65. Yeah, and then I think I'll come back. That was worth $65. That was totally worth I did it like for one day and I stopped and I do it. Are you gonna what? Go on YouTube. Yeah. Are you gonna be there for the break? Break? Like 3 to 6.
I'm gonna be gone. Today's Wednesday. I'm gonna be gone from like 4:30 to 6:ish.
Why? Because I mean, I don't know. What are we